right, hello everyone. This is Rhythm and Roads podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Jacob. We have a very special group, Christian music group from the 90s, Church of Rhythm. Welcome, Jason, Jerome, and Max.
What's up?
Thanks,
Hey
Josh.
guys.
Great to be here.
Yes. What a man, this is such a awesome feeling just to have you guys on. Been such a fan since day one. Welcome,
Nice.
guys.
It's fun
Thanks.
for us too. I haven't seen these guys in a while, so this is
Right.
great.
Yeah. Take your time to say hello and, get it acquainted. It's been so long. This is cool. Yeah. So I'm at the point where I do want to start with the beginning.
I don't talk much. I just lay back.
No, go ahead, Jerome. I want you to talk. But I was
Hey,
told.
man, I'm cool.
All right. You're cool. So, Max, I was told that you were the one that started the band, or who was the one that started the group that actually initiated the whole start sequence for Church of Rhythm?
It was Max.
Okay.
I mean, we might say it was my fault. It was
Man.
it was kind of built around Jason, actually.
Okay.
It was I mean, there's a long, not terribly interesting story behind that, but yeah, it was we just we were trying to actually we had talked to you about being a solo artist, right? Dave Palmer and I were trying to sign you as a solo artist.
Exactly. Yeah, I had been singing out at Willow Creek Community Church,
Oh, okay.
and primarily in their youth ministry there, Student Impact, which was actually a very large youth ministry at the time. And you know, had been serving out there for a while and singing with a live band every week. And gotten to know Max, I think, through the church, and his realized that he was gifted musician, interested in production at the time, and was actually interested in getting in the record business at the time, right, Max?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was working with a record label, and we had a whole bunch of plans for groups, and right around then, word dropped the wall, which was 19 subsidiary labels that just were suddenly looking for distribution. So it was a really bad time to be starting a label.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we kind of folded like the groups that we had all sort of into one thing. There's supposed to be sort of there's supposed to be like a girl group. There's supposed to be like sort of a boy band, and then Jason was going to be a solo artist. We ended up just being like, well, what's the strongest out of all of this? So we kind of folded Jason into the boy band sort of as the lead, and just I don't know, I mean it's a theme for what I've done for a lot of my life, which was I just kind of took whoever was willing and around, and just tried to see what would happen.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. So then how did the Church of Rhythm start? Who initiated that? I know you said you did, but I mean, how did it all start with the first, hey, let's start a group called Church of Rhythm?
I think Paul came up with the name, right? Didn't Paul come up with the name?
I think, yeah, we all knew Paul as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and he was also singing in the same ministries that we were at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, but I think Max, you kind of put together the initial core group, right? Of kind of the first record group, and you had been doing some writing and got us kind of together to start doing some songs, trying some writing together as well for that record.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were just there was a certain kind of music that I loved, and I was pretty active in a dance group and wanted to kind of I mean, basically Willow Creek was sort of our testing ground, wouldn't you say, Jason?
Okay.
We learned our stagecraft and whatnot. And it was a really interesting opportunity because they had like a built-in audience of about, what was Impact, like 2,000?
Yeah, at that time, probably 2,000 kids.
Wow.
Those
Okay.
weeks. So it was big.
And
Wow.
prime time was similar. And we just had access to all kinds of production toys and things, and so we really got to experiment. And at some point, it was just like, well, let's see how far we can go with this. And when you're young and you have more. Oh, I just had a conversation with Roddy Chong about this. You guys remember Roddy?
Oh, of course.
I just saw him with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Cool.
Roddy was he played violin for us. He was also a dancer on tour with us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But
Later on, he toured with Shania Twain.
Yeah,
Oh,
Celine.
wow, really? Okay.
Accomplished musician.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's the lead guy with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. The lead
Okay.
vocalist. It's really quite a show. My goodness.
I
They have
bet.
more lights than Kiss, I believe, is what he told me.
That's all right. Wow.
Seriously, like all lasers. I mean, it's like when they asked,
Jeez.
how many lights would you like? They just said yes. Uh, the But I
Wow.
was talking to Roddy, and he said of that time, because I
Mhm.
sent him some video of us. I've been digitizing all our old tapes. I sent him some video of us on stage, and he said we had so much confidence, and we had, when you're young, you have more confidence than
Yeah.
you have talent, or at least in my. I mean, Jason had talent. I was more.
Not true, Max. Not true.
I had
Max is
more
being very
confidence.
humble right now, Josh. Max is an amazing musician and writer. Phenomenal.
I was definitely, of the belief that that things were worth doing and were
Mm,
worth trying, and that regardless of your talent level, that there were opportunities for
mhm,
people if you just kind of stuck yourself out there.
mm.
Have you heard the story of the guy the little kid who has to clean out the horse stall?
No, I have not. No.
So there's this kid, and his job is to clean out the horse stall. And nobody's wanted this job, and this kid gets it, and he's just shoveling poop every day out of the horse stall.
Okay.
And um, but he's just cheerful and happy the whole time. And they're like,
Mm.
"Why are you so cheerful?" And he says, "With all this poop, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere." Um, and that was my general philosophy back then. Like,
Wow,
regardless
okay.
of what happened, like it was just all leading to a pony. So
Right.
it
That's
didn't, like, nothing, like setbacks didn't bother me. I had this sort of, if I had a superpower, it was just this belief that no matter how many times we failed or what we failed at, it was still in the progress towards, something bigger and something greater.
nice.
And it served me really well until I grew up. So
So Josh, going kind
Yes.
of historically, once we kind of formed a group of kind of four of us to do the first record,
Okay.
we actually did, I think, a 4-song demo. Was that in Wisconsin, Max? Where did we
yeah,
do
with
that
Daniel
4-song?
Holter.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
wow.
Yeah, went up and did a 4-song demo with a friend of ours,
Oh, wow.
and Max is very good about actually putting it out there. He knew a couple people that you were connected with in Nashville. If you want to tell that story, Max, about how you knew how we got connected with Matt and Wayne,
Oh
and
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
ages ago. I'm having trouble remembering all this.
Well,
Um,
you knew Wayne Erickson, who was a manager for a number of people, but he was famous, probably the most famous person he managed was Sandy Patty back in the day,
Oh,
right?
wow. Sandy Patty.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well,
okay.
Wayne's son and I went to college together.
Hmm.
So when I kind of started going down this road, I kind of was telling Todd about it, and I feel like Wayne was kind of like, if you're gonna get into trouble, we should at least kind of have a grown up watching over you guys. So Wayne was really fundamental in getting us places, and it was yeah, I still owe that man a lot, and he still lives in Franklin,
Oh,
and so
wow.
does
Okay.
I see them periodically. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
he was managing
Awesome.
Sandy Patty at the time, and he'd
Wow.
also didn't he hadn't he run like Star Song, not Star Song.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
don't know.
remember
He'd
Star
worked
Song.
with the major labels. I
Yeah.
don't think it was Star Song. It was, yeah, I don't remember. But he was
Okay.
he was one of the very smart people um, that really was responsible for us getting opportunities.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for
Awesome.
sure.
Wow. And so after the first album was released, when was the time frame of you guys starting the second album that I have here? Yee.
Wow.
This takes you back?
Yeah. The what was that guy's name? Paul, the artist who did it. Paul, can't remember. Super talented guy.
Oh, the lead singer of Supertones?
No. The that's Matt. But Paul, I'm just talking about the graphic artist who did the cover art.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, we
I'm watching the Bears. I'm sorry. I'm watching the Bears too. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Are we up or down?
We're losing already, man.
Okay, all right. Same old,
Well,
same old.
Josh,
Okay.
that's a great question. I think Max really had a vision for the second album.
Okay.
We put out the first record,
Mhm.
and it was, a little bit stylistically different than the second record, obviously,
Very
right? It
different.
was more
Very
of
different.
a hip hop record, and then, I think we had all been listening to more alternative music,
Okay.
while we were touring with the first record.
Mhm.
And then Max really kind of, I think you kind of took you did a lot of writing at that time, Max, for the second record.
Yeah. I mean, trying to remember exactly what happened. There at the time there was like just a huge shift in music.
Okay.
And we loved all kinds of music, and
Mhm.
so it wasn't a big. And I had actually like the first record I ever made that saw distribution was it was called Zero, and it was an EDM kind of record or
Oh,
techno.
okay.
We called it back in the day. It was me and Ian Eskelin, who went on to be All Star United, and he produced like Francesca Battistelli. I mean, he's still writing. Like he's still a great producer. But so I was used to sort of genre hopping. I'd worked on all kinds of records in when I was engineering at a label, including one Christian death metal record, which was
Really?
yeah, it was awesome actually. It was a Swedish death metal record.
Wow. Swedish. That's cool.
But and we were in the middle of kind of like finding our voice, I think, and then I want to say Reunion dropped us.
Yeah. They were bought, I believe, by A&M, and they had to clean house and get rid of 50% of their artists. And so we suddenly found ourselves without a label.
Wow, without a
Yeah.
label?
And while we were in the middle of, not in the middle, but basically we were like, yeah, we were starting the record. I remember we got dropped while we were starting the record.
Wow.
And I didn't have tape. We used to record on tape back then, which lets you know how long ago that was. And I called Reunion and I said, hey, we're starting this record and we don't have tape. And then they started freaking out because they were like, we haven't told you yet, but you're dropped.
Oh, man.
So then Wayne called me and he was just like, you were supposed to be quiet about this and we're working on it.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a really sort of heartbreaking moment. And I was like, well, then what have we, like I'd come down to Nashville to record and had all the stuff and all the songs were written and we were ready to go and we had people there. And I just remember walking around in the backyard being like, well, now what? What do we do with this? And Wayne kind of like went to the mat and came back with there was a new label at the time, Pamplin, that was starting up, and he said he'd found us a home and we should just keep going with it. Like, and we actually just kept making the record with the without.
That's awesome.
And back in the day, that was a difficult and expensive thing to do. So
my bad.
So there's definitely some like scary moments in there, but we just I want to say we rented Steve Hindalong's place. He was Steve's done a lot of great worship songs, and he actually played some stuff on the record. He did some percussion. And stuff.
Nice. Okay.
And we slept like in sleeping bags on the studio floor, like underneath the mixing console.
Yep.
Underneath.
Yeah, like we bought towels from Walmart. Like it was. Yeah,
it was pretty much a bootstrapped record back in the day. You couldn't really completely bootstrap because you actually had to be in a studio with 2-inch tape and reels happening. So yeah.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow. So at that point, Max, when they said they were going to drop you guys, did you maybe ask Scott or just be like, was this the end of the first album and now we're just done, or was there another plan? Like, did you ever have that conversation with God?
I mean, I remember being in the backyard and just like Wayne had gotten kind of frustrated with me because he hadn't completely communicated how much trouble we might be in.
Wow. Okay.
And he was like, he had wanted me to just kind of, you know, keep my mouth quiet about what we were doing so that we wouldn't, alarm the label. I think he was still trying to smooth the deal over. And, and then I kind of, upset the apple cart by letting them know that we were starting recording, which, I don't know. And so that for me was really tough. And I was like, so do I just go home? Like, I don't know. Oh, did Paul join us?
Yeah, welcome,
Hello.
Paul.
Hey there,
Good to see
Paul.
you. How are
Hey
you,
guys,
man?
how are you? Good, how are you
Oh,
guys?
Good.
Welcome, Paul. My name is Joshua
Thank you,
Jacob.
thank you.
Welcome.
Good to meet you, Joshua.
Um,
Glad you had on. Thank you.
and I just remember just being like emotionally overwhelmed and just
Mhm.
thinking, this is, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
And um, it's, I really hate to let people down. And so
Mhm.
I felt like I had let my manager down, and I was just like, I guess I just, I was like, instinctively, I wanted to quit and go home. Like instinctively, I wanted
Wow.
to be like, all right, I'll just leave because I kind of suffer from imposter syndrome. So anytime that something goes bad, I have this instinct where I'm like, I should leave. I screwed it up. Like I'm the
Oh,
idiot.
really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, in any given, like I'm a there's a I'm not Japanese, but there's a Japanese Yakuza tradition. Like everyone knows about harikiri, where you kill yourself as as atonement. But there's a smaller one in the Yakuza. I think it's called seppuku, where you or no, what's it called? Anyways, but if you've made a mistake in the Yakuza and you want to show how badly you screwed up, you cut off a finger and you go, "Sir,
Really?
here's my finger." Um,
Oh, man.
and so that's kind of that's how I always feel when things go bad. I'm like, I should offer my finger and then sneak away quietly into the darkness.
Dang.
But the we all hit moments like that in life, and I've walked away from projects before, and one of the things I learned from walking away from projects is, you know, they go on or they don't go on, but your involvement with the project definitely ends.
Mm.
Um, so any chance that you might have to be part of whatever it is over. And so I was kind of like, I need to stick this out. I need to figure out what we're doing next. And I can't even remember where we got tape. I think the engineer rescued me. I think Brent had some tape that they could
Oh,
load.
really?
So we just started and we just kept going like it was going to go well. And
Wow.
that goes back to that whole pony story where it's like, let's just keep going. Like this
Yep.
is going well. Like,
Yeah.
even if
Right. Let's just keep going. Let's not stop.
let's just pretend it's going well.
And then Max, when you mentioned that about this album that you were in the process with, is it the Not Perfect? Is it pertaining to that
Yeah.
one?
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. Amazing album. And look, if you didn't kept on going, there wouldn't have been that album. So thank you for going on.
Yeah, I mean, Max, can you talk a little bit maybe about, your thought process in writing some of those songs? Because I think, looking back at that now, I think it was a really divine,
Mm.
special moment where, you were feeling a lot of things and you wanted to get deeper with the writing for the second record, and you really went some cool places with that.
Yeah, that was I've always been frustrated with I guess I would call it bumper sticker Christianity.
Mm.
And I felt like there were things that weren't being said. And there were things that, questions that we were wrestling with, and we were all, part of that Gen X thing where it's like, what does faith mean to Gen X? But Jason, I think I should take the moment to say this. I've been listening to the old stuff, and because I've been watching these old tapes and stuff, and man, I think some of my favorite songs are the ones that you wrote. Um, Matter of
Wow.
Time, Free,
Mm.
especially that remix that Gosher and I did of Free is a really cool one, and Purity.
I like that version better too.
Yeah, those are all great songs. And I feel like I might have undersold you as a songwriter back in the day. I think I was just like, man, I was kind of sleeping on these songs. These are good
Wow.
songs. They're some of the best songs that we had.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'm a fan of parts of both records. I definitely, looking back, appreciate the second one more.
Mhm.
I just think that we grew a lot as a group, and the second version, if you will, of Church of Rhythm included Paul and Jerome, which are on the
Mhm.
call here,
Mhm.
and their contributions, from just an energy level and a talent level.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul sang a lot on the second record. He has some of the lead vocals on several of the songs on there. And he's got a phenomenal voice. He still sings in a band to this day.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
Paul, the voice hasn't changed. He still sounds amazing. So
That's awesome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you, Jason. Thank you.
And Paul, do you have anything to add on to this during the interview of just your experience, your journey, just what you remember of just the good times?
I wholeheartedly agree with Jason. I had a phenomenal shot at the second one. No, it was no, it really was. It was an amazing experience. I think for me, it was the fact that the group took a chance on me. The fact that Max saw something in me that could have helped, and I think to this day I'm really just forever grateful, because I think it really kind of it helped me grow musically.
Wow.
And I think just kind of under his leadership, just really kind of seeing a lot of and I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit rough. It's only because I've been singing. I did 5 shows in 3 days, so I'm a little bit a little tired. But other than that,
Don't worry.
Still
like that's
still
nothing.
plugging away.
Yeah.
Still, yeah. That's just an afternoon walk. But no, we're still going on. But yeah, it was just the way. It was just getting to understand the music, the direction, really the heart of what Max and Jason really wanted to communicate, and the message of the music, and then making sure that my voice lent that and communicated that properly, and just the guidance in the studio, pre-show, during the show, even after the show, talking about how we can improve. That was the one thing that I always felt like I really appreciated, because it wasn't you weren't just sort of like left out there. There was just a real community feel, and Jason and I, we spent a lot of time together, and really just enjoyed. I mean, it's a lot of times from the outside, people look at a band and they see all these guys and the music, and they see it from a perspective. For me, it was like just hanging out with my brother,
Wow.
my taller, good-looking brother, and it was great, and of course, Jerome and I go way back.
Wow.
I've known him from way back, but it felt like we were, and we were. I think it felt like a family, and
That's awesome.
like I said, and I know everybody internally had probably some things that they were trying to work through, improve on, deliver the best that they could. But I think the music, even to this day, I do, and what I do now in the project I do now, I do a variety of music. But listening to that record, it really stands up. I mean, it's a well-written, well-executed album, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So it's something that I'm grateful for the opportunity. So that's
awesome.
Best way I can put it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is a really well-written album. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
It just, even Take My Hand. When I first listened to that song, I was already hooked. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
This so different from the first album. It has a bit of a rough edge to it, of a little rock, which I was like, nice. Okay, guys, that was great to add that in. So, and if that was you, Max, thank you, Max. But yeah, it was a great, the whole album was so different in a way that's very unique. And I'm glad I was able to come across it. Which, one thing I don't understand is how the second album is not on the streaming services like Spotify or Apple Music. Your first album is, but not on this one.
It's probably because Pamplin went under. But
is that why? Okay,
that would be my guess. I don't know if anything.
It'd be interesting. I've thought about it. I don't even know who we would contact to try to get permission / pay a penny to get our songs back so we could actually post them. But it's something we should do.
Yeah, I think we start with Jerome. Jerome seems to be pretty good at this stuff, So yeah.
Well, I'm watching the Bears. I'm sorry, I'm watching the Bears.
Yeah.
21 is nothing.
But Josh, we had, after that record came out, we had so much fun touring as a group.
I bet.
We initially, I think we were all in a motorhome traveling around, unloading our gear. And then eventually we thought it was a good idea to buy an old bus that we basically a passenger bus that we tore apart and put bunks in.
Wow.
And a lot of memories of, and that bus broke down every time we took it out.
Yes, every time.
Wow.
But just a lot of amazing memories of being with these guys, and we just had so much fun together. It was just
awesome.
a real amazing time when I look back, of just laughter and joy, and I just I love these guys to this day because of just such fond memories.
That's awesome. And Jason, go ahead. Where was going to talk?
Just before we totally move on from the record, again, we, like most of the stuff I've done, there's been no grown-ups in the room. And so I came from sort of a hip hop sampling background, and Brian Gosher, who I've done a lot of my co-writing with, was, also from that place. And so we were kind of making a rock record that we didn't understand how rock worked. It was more kind of we were just used to using samplers and drum machine and all that. And so this was sort of our first experience recording a lot of these things. We had this fun engineer, Brent King, who was really experienced, who kind of, I guess he was the grown-up in the room. But we didn't, one thing that's, been part of all of my work is there's never been hit makers in the room. There's never been oh, these are the people that write for Smitty, or these are the people that whatever. We've just been oh, let us try. It goes back to that more confidence than talent thing. But something for me, I'm not really a vocalist in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not really the greatest writer of melodies either. But what was fun was when we got to the point of doing vocals, I'd have these rough melodies sketched out, and I'd be like, well, this is roughly the chorus. And then I would kind of be like, all right, well, Jason, you try this. And he'd go in there and he'd sing it. And then I'd be like, okay, so Paul, try. And Paul would go in there and he'd probably, I think what he's trying to do is top what Jason did. And then he'd sing his brains out. And I'd be like, Jason, do you have a response? And they'd go back and forth till it was incredible. Wow. And
That's
then
so cool.
Everyone would be like, you're such a good songwriter. I'm like, I just wound those two guys up and let them go. There's I listened to the end of Common People, and you guys are almost dueling, and it's amazing. It's so much fun. And I didn't even realize how great that was until I did records without you guys. And then the vocalist would be like, what do you want me to sing? And I'd be like, you don't have a whole bunch of ideas back there? They'd be like, no, just tell us what to sing exactly. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to have to think about that for a minute, because I didn't realize how good the talent was that I was working with. And it was really a treat. I mean, there's outtakes and things that it was always just sitting there being like, man, do I use this line or that line? Because there were so many good lines, and it was it was a really fun thing to watch it come together from really rough sketches to everyone adding their passion to it. And I mean, those, I'm pretty sure, I can speak for Jason and Paul and say they sang their brains out. I mean, you guys really brought it all, as far as I could tell.
Awesome.
They didn't hold anything back. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but they weren't leaving anything.
Yeah, I can remember. I can remember the recording of the record very fondly and well. And we did it in a couple different studios with different vocal booths and a couple of different engineers.
Okay.
And but yeah, I just remember wanting to, actually do the lyrics proud, because I thought there were such well-written lyrics that Max had written primarily, and just wanted the record to reflect and be shown in a light that would be interesting for people to listen to, so that they could, digest it themselves, and
Right.
it could meet them where they're at, and hopefully make a difference in someone's
Awesome.
life.
Yeah.
And
Very cool.
yeah, and we've gotten some,
Yeah.
stories through the years of different songs meaning different things for, people, and how it's made a difference in their life. I know there was a guy specifically who was a youth pastor who went through some tough times, and actually, unfortunately found himself in jail.
Oh,
And,
wow. Okay.
was really, having a tough time with his life. And I know that the song Matter of Time really gave him hope. And he expressed that to a family member of mine who was a friend of his. And I know in my own life, there have been different songs at different times on this record that have
Wow.
meant different things, and been special to me, whether it was that song or Not Perfect, is definitely a record that still resonates today.
Right.
With me, the song specifically.
Amazing. Wow.
Also, guys, I was going to say, I've got, so I have to apologize because I'm trying to stay on with you guys as much as I can. I traveled today, and it was I'm sure you guys are all aware that traveling is not always the easiest and not always the most pleasant experience. And I've been going, so I haven't slept since yesterday at 9 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Because I had to catch an early morning flight to come out. So I'm in Arizona at the moment when I'm talking to you. So my daughter, who's a pilot at Arizona State University, and so we're here to celebrate with her. She just passed her instrument rating. So I'm out here for that.
Congrats, Polly.
Sweet.
Thank you.
I can't believe she's old enough for that.
She's taller than me, smarter than me, and better looking than me. So I did all right. I did all right.
Josh, here's a quick story about Paul being tired and going through airports. So we were traveling through an airport one time, and it was late at night, and we're all exhausted, and Paul is going through a metal detector, and it keeps going off and keeps going off. And we all look at him and we're like, Paul, what are you trying to do? He goes, the thing just keeps going off. Well, maybe stop trying to push that cart through the metal detector.
A cart? Oh my God.
A cart through a metal detector. Yeah. This was all before 9/11, of course. But
right. Yes. Yeah. And leave it to an Arab to push a cart through the metal detector. So that didn't help very much. That didn't help matters either. But no, we had, there's so many, I can think of so many, I remember one instance with Jerome. I see Jerome on here. Yeah. We were at an event, I believe, down in Florida, and I think we were trying to decide to swim out to like a sandbar area. And I think, Jason, you did it. And then some of the other guys did it. And I thought, yeah, why not? And I swam out there. I barely made it out there. And I'm like, I can make it back. I got about within maybe 15 feet of shore. And it was probably the first time in my life I thought, yeah, this is how I'm going to go out right here. I'm going to drown 15 feet from shore because I can't swim. I was so tired. And so I crawled on shore, and I just kind of stayed there for a while. But Jerome helped me get back to shore. So, he in essence, he sort of saved my life on that. I'm sure they would have saw me going. They would have saw me going under. But it was. I'll tell you the thing, Josh. A lot of bands say, oh, we had fun. I can truly say we had such a great time. There were so many fun experiences on the road, and and I go, and I'll say this to Max in particular. To have the ability to do something, to be part of something. Someone has to sort of spearhead that. Someone has to lay out the vision.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And Max really did that, and I'm really humbled that he would, how he feels about my vocal. But it's you have to have the material. You have to have something, and what he had was such richness, to it. So what I tried to do to the best of my ability is to take part of that and just lend whatever textures in my voice. To kind of sort of support the lyrics, because the lyrics themselves were so strong and they were so deep and so powerful. And I just I was fortunate to be part of it. And so before, if I lose you guys, I just want that at least on record that I was.
Yeah, that you're on the record.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I really am.
Awesome.
And Max, he may not say this, but he really, I think. there's some people that just have a unique talent. Just
Totally
it's
agree.
hard to put your finger on it, and he hasn't. He's very humble. He won't. I don't think he'll ever really admit it, but he really is. He's a special human being. So I think,
Awesome.
and he really and Jason is. If you see the videos and you see him rocking out,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
the truest definition of a rock star is Jason.
That's right.
You know, even without the long hair now, I'm sure he would just kill it on stage. You know, so but it was so much fun. It really was so much fun, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. You know,
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I agree with Max's humbleness here. You know, Max, you know, you keep saying that, you know, you had more energy and youth than talent, but that's not really true. You had both. And you were really the ringleader to put this thing together and the driver to continue through the hard times and really make that second record, man. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Hey guys, real before I lose you guys, I just want to introduce you. This is my daughter. This is my daughter, Sydney.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
So she's up to saying congrats.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
She graduated, instrument this year. So she'll go on to a commercial.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
Pretty soon she'll be part of the big jets. So
awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Very cool. Nice to meet you.
Good meeting you.
To see you again. I haven't seen her since she was much smaller.
Way smaller. I know. She's turned out really good. So
awesome.
So
I didn't know they let pilots be 16 years old now.
Exactly.
Right. No, she'll be 20 years old in about a week and a half, and she's a go-getter. Just a real go-getter.
Cool.
So I'm
good for her.
So blessed to have that.
Yes.
I mean, if we're doing confessional look back and things we should say before somebody gets cut off, I'd like to say that I look back on that and I was on a mission back then. I wanted to change the world. And there were things that I felt really passionately about. And because of that, I sort of let that blind me to my own personal faults. And because I was always like, my intentions are good. But the thing that I've come to learn over the years is that if the people in my care feel lesser from their time with me, then I'm failing, regardless of what I'm trying to do, and regardless, did the Bears win or lose? Jerome
Jerome's excited about something.
Are we up now?
I know, right?
We're all Chicago to the core. But,
there you go.
And when I look back on my time, it's like there were a lot of really great things that we did, and a lot of really great opportunities that God opened up for us. But
that's awesome.
If I had a regret, it's that I could have been more patient. I could have been more caring. I could have been more, I don't know. I mean, Miller isn't here. I remember getting in so many arguments with that little guy.
Our drummer, Matt Miller. Yeah.
Yeah.
The drummer? Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was just in the middle of an argument with him in a festival, and for some reason it struck me as ludicrous, and I just thought it was funny. The anger left me, and I just wrapped him in a hug. His angry little body. And it took him a minute to calm down. But I just think back at that time and how many arguments we had, and I just think, man, I could have been better. I could have been gentler. I could have listened better. I could have been less defensive. And Jason, that's why I wanted to talk about your songs, because I was, I think I was, because I didn't really have any other real talents, I was really threatened as, when other people were songwriting. And so I look back at those songs now without any emotions, any of that stuff. And I'm just like, oh, these are really good songs you wrote. I look back on those times and I just think, we were privileged to spend that much time together. And something that was really neat about back then, we were touring in a van. None of us had cell phones. So like all you could do was talk to each other. You're driving to California, it's friggin' 40 hours. Like Nowadays I see bands and like they're just all on their cell phones. They just go to their bunks and they just hole up and as soon as the bus stops, they all just like get out of the bus and they're talking on their phones and it looks like fireflies in the parking lot. And we didn't have that option. So we had to sit there and play silly games like, if you were a Star Wars character, what would you be? And I remember Dave said,
That's funny.
I would be Boba Fett. And Jason, you said, Boba Fett, you'd be like C-3PO.
That's funny. Wow.
But like, we had no choice but to do that stuff. And we really got to know each other. And that was, something that was, I kind of wish bands would have to do that now because you really like, and there was like nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Like if you were mad at each other, I mean, it's hard to ignore someone in a van,
Right. Oh yeah, I can imagine.
So it was, I don't know, it was kind of like marriage boot camp.
Marriage boot camp.
And it was, I feel like the iteration where we had Jerome and Matt and Dave and, Paul and Jason, to me, that was what was actually Church of Rhythm. That was,
yeah, I agree.
That tour, those times, that was just, whether the show was good or bad, like, it didn't matter. I mean, I remember we played that one state fair and like all of a sudden there was no bass and like I look back and Jerome, like the insides of your bass fell out.
Oh wow!
And like, he grabbed a mic and he was just jumping around, going, "Feel it, feel it!" Like,
that works, right?
I still got that bass.
Like we don't need bass; it's fine.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, those were good times. That was it was
good times.
Max, I think you're being a little hard on yourself though. Earlier in the conversation, man. I mean, we were all much younger, and life gives you perspective, right, on everything. And when I look back, I have nothing but fond memories of the experience, and actually miss the camaraderie, that we were able to experience together, and wouldn't trade any of it for the world. But if I did have one regret, it is I wish I would have just enjoyed it more in the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Except for there's one part I didn't enjoy, and that was remember when we made the back of the van into sort of a triple bed. We just put that piece of foam down and we all slept in the back of the van.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was room for 3 people to lie down back there, which is a big thing if you're trying to sleep in a moving vehicle. And so if 3 people slept perfectly straight, like you could get 3 people back there and that was okay.
Wow.
If Paul was in the middle, as soon as Paul fell asleep, he'd turn on his side and you would either get his bearded face like nestling on your shoulder, or you get his arm butt up. That's funny. That was just I don't miss that. I mean,
Sleep.
That's
Sleep
funny.
on that image. Sleep on that image.
That's funny.
And the other, if we're talking about a quick regret before I lose you guys, mine was the orange outfit, wearing that in July in Texas, in the Texas heat. I was hurting in that one, but whatever few regrets, in anything, it's not always roses, but I would say that by majority, it was a really, really fun experience. And before I lose you too, and I'll say this to Max, Max, you said you set out to change the world, with the music and everything. Interestingly, what you did, at least you changed my world. You put me on a path where I was very driven to do music, and that set me on the course where I've got the group that I formed 17 years ago.
Wow. It's
going strong. And that was because somebody believed in me, first and foremost, gave me the opportunity, and kind of exemplified hard work, It wasn't like people oftentimes think, well, if you're creative, it just comes to you. A lot of times it's woodshedding. It's going and going and going and doing. And he did that. And that it kind of modeled that for me. And that helped me out a lot.
Well, Josh, you probably already know this about Max, but he went on to great things after COR, with Super Chick and everything. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He was kind of still figuring out the rock thing to his point, maybe on that second record of Church of Rhythm, but he definitely figured it out for Superchick.
Yeah.
You know, I should tell you guys this too. You know, since we were talking about Roddy, and this is something Roddy had told me, and like, Jason, you knew Roddy pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew Roddy really well, actually.
Like, you remember, like, so, you know, Roddy, I saw him playing with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and he's the lead violinist, he's the big star, and, you know, obviously he's, you know, friends with Shania and Celine and toured with them and everything, and that all seemed inevitable to me because, like, Jason, if you remember, Roddy was incredibly ambitious at the time. Like, remember he had like post-its that said things like, "I will get my SAG card, I will be on your tour," all that stuff.
Yes.
Like, he was like, when we met him, or at least when I met him, he was already a national aerobics champion.
Wow.
And he was always pushing, always something. And so when I saw him at Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I was like super amped to see him in his element and to see all of these people. And I really regret not going to see him when he was out with like Shania or Celine or something. But and so I was just a little bit in awe of him, you know. And I was like, you were always on this trajectory, you know. You've had this. He's just had like just like I think he met with Lou Pearlman once. Like, he has all these stories of like he was definitely working towards his thing, and I was like, so you were always destined for success. And because he would never quit, and he said to me something that I didn't even know until like this year. He said that you know, he danced with us in our first iteration, and then when we Jay, do you remember the unplugged set we did at Willow?
Yeah,
Roddy
absolutely.
played violin.
Mm-hmm.
And I hardly even remember that at all, but Roddy said he said that I think Nathan Clare knew he played violin, and so I was like, hey, so we need a string section for this, and you know, whatever, so play violin. And Roddy said, what do you want me to play? And I don't remember this, but apparently I said, whatever you want. And I have this habit of throwing people in and seeing if they can swim. Usually they do. But and he said that after that, it was Axis. It was at Axis. It was one of our first unplugged sets.
Wow.
He said people came up to him and said that was really cool, what had happened. And he had always played classical violin. Roddy's Asian, so you know that just goes with the territory. But he'd always played classical violin, and he'd never thought of violin as something that he could do, like in a sort of a modern context, a rock context.
Okay.
And he said that's what got him started on the whole, you know, playing with jars of clay, and then Shania, and all that. And so he was like, "Would I be here, you know, without you guys? Maybe, maybe not." And I was just like,
wow,
really floored. You know,
Yeah.
because I'd always thought he was going to succeed one way or another. But I think when we set out to do things, you know, like when you're young, you think, oh, I'm going to go save the world. And you go out there and do your thing. And it's a little bit like missions trips. You end up being changed by the experience.
Right.
And if the world has changed, you know, that's not really us. That's, you know, that's God. But what the privilege that we have is being part of these kinds of life-changing things when you're willing to like step out of your comfort zone and try things, and I mean, there's this, you know, we're all plagued by the fear of failure, you know, but that's not really like, we don't live our best lives when we're afraid of what other people think of us, or if we fail, or
very true. Very true.
I think for us, you know, being able to go out there and try to change the world, like, I don't know if we changed the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure we didn't, but we changed our worlds. We were changed from it, and it was I don't know, Jay, I should send you some of this footage. There's a show where it's a big show, and I don't remember the occasion, but it ends with you like stage diving, which actually was pretty common, but you were just in such control of the crowd at the end, and it was really cool. It was really cool to look back at that and be like, that was something that, you know, we got to do, and something we got to be part of. And I was talking to Aaron Sprinkle. I don't know if you know who he is. Poor old Lou. Like, he's a really big producer on the he in the mid. He's like kind of an alternative producer, but super talented guy, like way more talented than I am. And we were talking about what success means, and he said that he had told a friend of his. He said, if I could just make music that I think is cool, that's enough for me. And his friend said to him, no, that's not enough. That's bonus. His friend was like, I'm an accountant. I don't get to make music. Like, it's like, if you get to make music that's like meaningful to you, that's already bonus. Like, you're already, experiencing something awesome.
Right.
Because as musicians, I think we have a tendency, and as artists, to set the bar higher every time that we get somewhere. And so it's easy to discount like what happens to you. And it's only in the perspective of looking back that you can be like, oh wow, that was really cool that to be part of something. And I think in all of our efforts and stuff, it's like the real blessing from trying to change the world was that we changed our worlds. And it's just we got family out of it, and we got to experience all kinds of things. And Jason, you remember we used to sing worship songs? Like, we would just free form worship in the band.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
And do you remember Paul led us in that rendition of "I Hammer in the Morning"?
Oh yeah, yes.
And I was like, I don't know this one, but it's it's easy to sing along with. And I don't know where it's going, until Paul was like, "No turning back." I'm like, okay, so now you're just making up stuff.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So as we're coming to the end of the podcast, thank you again for sharing so much, just the wisdom, the story, just the journey of you guys. You guys have been a blessing in my life since I was a kid. And that's the thing. You may not have changed the world, but you changed my world. You changed a lot of people who listened to you guys from the start. And I would really hope you put this out on the streaming services, Not Perfect, because you could open up a whole new world getting this album out. Because Church of Rhythms, it has been around in a while, but you can resurrect it and start a whole new fan base with this album. And they'll be like, whoa, who are these guys? Where they come from? And then they'll look back to the history and say, man, they're from the 90s? And then they don't even sound like that. Like, is there something coming? Is there another album? And that's where I want to get to on this part is there a possibility for a third album? Is there any slight of a possibility?
Wow.
Here's the spotlight.
I don't even have enough hair to do music anymore.
Well, Josh, we have talked about getting together and having a bit of a reunion.
Okay.
And I think it would be great to do that and maybe play a song or two together. And
cool.
At least Max has talked about maybe doing a recording of that potentially. And I think that would be something that would be really cool to do.
Very cool. Yeah, just to come back and start.
And never say never.
Never say never. Who knows? There could just be one single that pops out of nowhere. Hey, a new single by Church of Rhythm. Whoa, and then that's the start. But yes,
do it before I get too old, fellas. Man, I'm the old guy, fellas. Man, come on, man.
Right.
Well, I mean, Jerome, you're still playing out every day, right? Aren't you playing out like every week practically?
Yeah, I played. I'm like Paul. I played last night, but I can't talk. Yeah, no, I play all the time.
You're still the best bass player I've ever played with, Jerome.
Wow.
Appreciate it, man. It's a lot of fun, Max. A lot of fun, man. My main goal was like to get all of us to talk together. That's why I'm so quiet. My mission is accomplished.
Awesome.
I got to say, when I spoke to Jerome over the phone when we first talked, yes, he was iffy about me. He was like, "Well, hold on, I gotta be very cautious on this." I mean, we talked quite a bit actually for a couple of weeks, And he's like, well, let me do this. You know, he gave me a mission to do. I was like, sure, I'll do it. Because he says, he told me, you can either just have me and I'll come on and just share what I know. I'm like, or if you were to do this, you can have everyone. And so that, Max, when you said living in fear of that point of saying, well, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do this mission because I don't know if they'll even accept that. I said, you know what? I'm going to take that step of faith. I'm going to do what you asked Jerome and see what God can do. So what Jerome asked me was go to your pastor, ask him for a letter of recommendation and see what he says. Now, my pastor, he has his own mega church. He's very associated with Hillsong where I'm at. So to me to ask him that, I'm not saying he's like, you know, celebrity, but for certain things, he's very picky on responding to certain emails about what I'm going to ask him. So I said, well, God, you know, I have served at the church for 3 years. I have done, you know, he knows me, he knows of me because he actually counseled me during the time I lost my mother 2 years ago. And my mother was very familiar with Church of Rhythm's music because I would always play it when I was a teenager. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to just do it. And the worst thing he can do is just not respond, or we'll see. So I sent him an email. And a few days later, I got a response back from my pastor. And he says, hey, Josh, he's like, so yes, I'd be willing to do this for you. Would tell me exactly what you need. And I just expressed what I needed. And he said, sure, I'll get this done by the end of the week. He sent me the email. And I was like, after a week, and I was like, wow, here it is. Here's the paper. And I was just so excited. I was like, if I would have just been comfortable and saying, you know what, I'll just have Jerome on and he'll just share it and that's that, there wouldn't have been this reunion with you guys. You know what I mean? If I would have just been in my comfort zone and be like, no, I don't want to go that route. No, I don't want to do that. You know, like, I don't want to test the waters and try it out. No, I say, you know what? I will do that. Jerome challenged me, says, if you were to do this, and now he didn't say, if he didn't like promise, like, okay, do this and then I'll get everyone. He says, hey, I'll send that letter out to every one of them, but it's up to them if they want to come on. But at least you opened the door. I'll say, hey, I'm willing to do that. So I thank God. I thank God so much for touching my pastor's heart to give me that letter. And I'm glad that you guys came on this podcast to express such a journey that you've been around in my heart for so many years, especially with that song, I Found Love. Remember that song from the first album?
Mm-hmm.
That song spoke wonders to me because there's been times where I struggled trying to, you know, find that love, that longing. You know, and we have it with our Heavenly Father, but there's that side that you just, man, I want a girlfriend. Man, I want to get married. But God has someone for me. But the thing is, that song kept me going. You know what I mean? Because I have found my true love, my Heavenly Father. So a lot of your songs from the first album and the second album has really helped my life. And so I'm so glad you guys had the opportunity just to come on, share your time. And I really appreciate each one of you. I'm getting like a little emotional here, but because you guys have gone so you know what I'm saying? You guys have been in my life with your music since I was a kid, mid-90s, and I'm 36. You know what I mean?
Josh, thank you for sharing that. That means a lot to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks for doing this because honestly, we haven't talked to each other in years, and so this is a good reminder that that we can still talk to each other, you know, before we're all dead or something.
Hopefully not soon.
Exactly.
You still have a reunion tour to do.
Yeah, and we are going to try to get together, and maybe you could come to it. I don't know. It's where are you located?
I'm in El Paso, Texas.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, but I told you.
Are you a musician? Like I see drums in the background.
Yes,
there.
I'm a drummer. Been a drummer for over 10 years. I was with a prior band, a punk rock band. And so that's what motivated me to do this podcast because I've met so many musicians in my town. I mean, we have a lot of talent in where I'm from. And for almost a year, I played to a lot of places. So that feeling that you guys had in playing in front of crowds I've experienced that even just for a year. And I just loved it. But the thing is, I wasn't doing it for God. And that's why I left the band because I didn't strictly tell the band, hey, we're not doing it for God, I'm out. But I said, you know what, guys, I'm sorry, after a year, I'm going to have to back out because I feel like God has something else for me. And I don't know what it is, but I'm going to see. And they were totally fine with it. They understood. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, this idea for this podcast came about. So,
very cool.
And then I was like, well, God, you have me on another journey to do Rhythm and Roads. And here I am. But yes, with Jerome, he did tell me that if you guys did do a reunion, I would definitely fly out to wherever it's at and just to be there, even do some photo shoots for you guys or video work, whatever, or just to be the support.
Cool. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll let you know if it happens.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Before we close, do you guys have anything else to say? Anything else to say before we stop the podcast?
Hey, I'll just say, man, like I said, I was an older guy when I was with these kids, but I was probably the biggest kid, man. I was the biggest kid. I know it, but I'm glad that we're like talking now, bro. This is like really cool. I had no idea what's gonna happen. I haven't seen Max. This is crazy. I mean, I seen Jay, so I hope we get together, man. But I love these dudes. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
And
Josh,
Jason,
thanks for doing this. It was an impetus to get us all talking again, and we've shared some stories and some videos back and forth, and it's been really fun so far. And yeah, I'm hoping that we'll spend some more time together soon. So that'd be great.
Awesome. And I do want to say thank you for sharing the videos with Jerome, because he shared them with me, and I never have seen videos like this. So back in the mid-90s, I did see you guys live, but I was a kid, because my mother bought me the cassette tape of the first album, but cassette. And I think you did play in El Paso, but I think at Jesus Chapel or something like that. I'm not really sure, because that's where
I think we did pretty early on the first tour for the first record. I remember being in El Paso.
Okay, so that's probably what the event was. And I remember my mother bought it for me, and I played it, and that was it. But yes, so seeing your guys' excitement, the way you, especially you, Jason, the way you so much energy on stage, how you would do that little. I was like, bro, that's so good, bro. They were like that. I'm like, bro, that is awesome, brother. I'm glad you had so much energy to the youth and everything that just got that whole feeling going. You know what I mean? So that's cool seeing that. So I just wanted to say that before we ended it. Just I'm glad you had that so much energy in you. Not just here I am singing or I gotta go. No, you were like, hey, come on, man, let's have fun. Let's have fun, guys.
Yeah. It was a wonderful time, and I thank you for saying that. And I cherish those memories, and it's been really fun also to see video that I hadn't seen until recently as well. And I think Max puts it best. We had a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm, and sometimes we sounded good.
Yeah, that's funny. Anything else you want to say, Max, before we close?
Why don't you play us out?
Play you out?
Yeah, man. Why don't you just close it with you just going nuts on the drums?
No, actually, I don't have them tuned up yet. I just put these back in my garage right now, so I don't want to just start jamming now. Next one will do. I haven't tuned it up yet, but yeah, these guys, these drums behind me have traveled all my city, man. These drums have been everywhere in El Paso, and it's a blessing. It's one of those that God gives you that you think, well, this is not enough. No, it was enough. I'm like, God, I don't have what these other band members I met have, where it's a full, complete set. You know what I mean? Just with this was enough for people to be like, dang, that band is really good, or dang, you know what I mean? Not that I'm trying to say I'm like, oh no, but just the sound of everything was just. I looked at my drums like, whoa, where did this come from? So this is such a blessing to have right here from God. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well,
sorry, Max, I couldn't play anything right now, but I don't have them tuned up.
Well, next time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, thank you again for coming on Rhythm and Roads, and I really appreciate each one of you. And I look forward to hopefully a reunion for 2 songs in the future.
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.